Hey guys, hello on this rainy Tuesday afternoon. Today I'm going to be talking about anxiety. So, anxiety is actually really, really common. In fact, it's our pretty much predominant state until we actually feel connected to ourselves. It's particularly at this time, it's even more so because there's so much uncertainty. So, we have uncertainty around jobs. So, maybe you've lost your job. Maybe you might lose your job. There could be all other kinds of reasons why this lockdown is giving you anxiety. Maybe your normal kind of escapism methods like um, going out doing different hobbies and things you can't do anymore. So maybe you go to the gym and then you do loads of exercise and then you feel better and less anxious, or other hobbies to kind of help you with the same issue. So, so for one, anxiety is really, really common normally anyway, but it's even more common during these times. And I've had loads of people asking me about it and asking me to speak about it. So, firstly, what is anxiety? It's a feeling of unease, such as worry or fear. And so, firstly, what is worry? And secondly, what's fear? So, all we ever experience in our life is three things. So, we're either experiencing sense perceptions, thoughts, or emotions, or a combination of all those things. So, worry is basically thought. So you might say, I'm really worried. So what does that actually mean? It means that you're thinking loads of worrisome things. So you could be nervous about, potentially losing your job or not being able to find a partner or whatever it is. You can have all these worrisome thoughts, which is basically thought projected into the future with all these what if scenarios. So your mind can create thousands of scenarios, like what if this happens, what if that happens, etc., etc. So that's what worry is. It's basically thought. And fear, that's the corresponding kind of emotion that comes with worry. So what happens is quite often that we have lots of worrisome thoughts, and then off the back of that, lots of fear is created. So that's the body's response to that negative kind of worrisome thinking. So it can start in two ways: anxiety, so this feeling of unease, such as worry or fear. So, firstly, the most common way is that we're all stuck in our thinking mind, and we believe that that mind is us, and we believe that every thought that occurs is actually true, which is not the case. We're not those thoughts. We can observe the thoughts, and quite often they're just conditioned thought patterns that have been carried down from previous generations, so maybe our parents or our peers or teachers. We've learned to inherit those thinking patterns, and so we do it naturally and don't even realize that we're doing it. So so it can start from all those worries that we believe to be true. So what if I lose my job? Oh, I'm going to lose my job, or I'm never going to be able to find another job. We kind of believe these things, even though it's just this thought, this preconditioned thinking mind talking to us, which you can observe. So that we have those thoughts. So it can start that way and then create the emotions in us. So our body responds to all those negative thoughts as if they're a real threat when actually they're not, because they're not happening now. So body can respond and say, I'm never going to find a job, and then you feel really uneasy and fearful about that, which is the body's reaction to that. So your body might notice your heart rate's increasing, your palms are sweaty, you generally feel tense in your body. So it can happen that way, thought to emotion, or it can happen the opposite way, emotions into your thoughts. So we all carry some kind of residual pain in our bodies, and that's just something that we inherit as a human. So it could be passed down from previous generations and so on. You might notice that every now and then you just get really angry, or you get really sad, or you get anxious, and that just happens periodically. So then what happens with those emotions are that it feeds into the thinking. So our body feels really nervous and anxious and fearful, and then it feeds into thoughts, and thoughts will be like, oh, the reason you're feeling like this is because you're going to lose your job, or whatever it is. So it can go thought to emotion or emotion to thought, but either way it creates a cycle. So if your thoughts are creating your emotions, then the more your body responds and you feel those negative emotions, the more negative thoughts are created, and it just goes round and round and round. And so what we usually do as humans is try and escape that because it feels uncomfortable. It feels uncomfortable to hear the thoughts, or we believe that we are the thoughts. It's even worse, and to feel that emotion in the body. So then we have behaviors to try and escape from it. So it's what I call escapism behaviors. So they're things like drinking alcohol, smoking, biting nails, even eating disorders are a byproduct of that anxiety. It's a need for kind of control. So we manifest all these things, and that's because we're trying to escape from what's happening. So what we need to do instead is do the opposite to that. So instead of what we're kind of taught to do as children as well, particularly boys, is, don't cry or don't feel scared. You've got to be manly and just, not show your emotions. Whereas what we need to do actually, to stop this kind of crisis in mental health that we're experiencing, is actually feel the emotion. So it's there already. So we try and escape and do something external. But instead, what I invite you to do is actually feel that emotion. So that feeling of unease, be curious about it. How does that feel in my body? And then just feel it. So you might notice like a tightness in your chest. What I invite you to do is just maybe close your eyes and just really feel it, and then breathe into it. So take some deep breaths. And just notice how it feels in your body. How does it feel? What does it feel like? And accept that it's there. And then you might realize, oh, okay, I've realized I've got all these thoughts about needing to find a new job. So then you might think, okay, from there maybe I need to take an action, which is like start sending off my CV or doing a job search. Or you might just notice that it's something that you can't change. So maybe you've lost your job and it's just lots of negative thoughts about that, like I'm never going to get a new one, or all these kind of thoughts. So you can realize, right, can I take action in all this or can I not? And if you can, then you can take the action. And if you can't, then you just accept the feeling that's there. And then once you've accepted it and breathed into it and really felt it, what's going to happen is it'll pass through you. It'll pass through your body much more quickly than it would do otherwise. Because if we escape it, it's still trapped in the body. It's like this trapped emotion, this trapped energy in the body. So if we try and escape it, it's still going to be there. But if we actually accept it and feel it, it's going to pass through. It's going to pass through the body. And then when it reoccurs, it'll be less dense and it will be less likely to happen as well. So it's the opposite to what we normally do and what we're taught to do, which is run away from our feelings. And then that's when all these behaviors manifest. Instead, we need to feel it and accept it. So once we do that, we can kind of let it go, and then we bring our attention onto something else. So maybe some work that we need to do, something else more productive. And then we might notice it come and reoccur. So maybe it starts with the thinking again, or it starts with the emotion. Either way, we can just stop for a few seconds again and just feel that feeling in the body. How does it feel? Notice what thoughts are happening. Notice if you can just switch away from those thoughts. And then what happens over time is you get less and less anxious. So I used to get quite nervous and anxious about, for example, exams. When I did my accounting exams, I had 15 of these things, like 3 hours long. And the amount of information you had to kind of remember before them was just quite overwhelming. So before the exams, I was always like really nervous and like shaking a bit because I was just thinking, oh God, if I fail, then you can't really take them for 6 months. It's just not really enjoyable. So I found the thing, I didn't even realise what I was doing then, but what I did do was sit down in my car before I got out for the exams and just breathe, like really breathe deeply, just for a couple of minutes. And then you'll notice you feel more relaxed. And then if you carry that over into, so sometimes our body, you think it's quite natural to be anxious, but you don't actually need to. If you carry that kind of breathing away from, so for example, when I was doing that in my car, then I would walk to the exam hall. If I didn't at that time because I didn't know what it was, like that mindset shift. But what I would do now would be to then just stay completely present again. So each step towards the exam hall, my attention would be in each step, and it wouldn't be in my thinking, because I know that if it would be in thinking, it made me more anxious again. And the anxiety then doesn't really serve you, because get all anxious and nervous and your body isn't stressed basically, and then you're less likely to perform well on whatever it is you're doing, like the exam. But instead, if you just feel it and accept it and then move your attention to the present moment, it'll just dissipate. And then I don't really feel anxious anymore, like ever really. And I've had a few things happen lately that I know I would have been anxious about previously, but I just realised the futility of it. For one, I noticed my thoughts, which cause it, for another, and also I also feel the emotion of something like that happens. I really feel it and accept it, and that means it just dissolves over time. So then you're free of these emotions. So it's pretty life changing, because basically everyone experiences it, and we go about it the wrong way. We try and run away instead of feel it. So it's the opposite to what we think we should do. But it's a game changer once you realise that and you practice it. So I hope it's been helpful for anyone feeling anxious during this time. I know it's very uncertain times, and we can see that it's a normal response, but actually it's not necessary over time once you do the techniques that I just talked about. So if you'd like any more information about that or about my experiences, just send me a message or please comment below and let me know how you're feeling during this time. Are you feeling anxious, or do you already employ some of the techniques I said? I'd love to know how you guys are all coping in this strange time. Okay, thanks very much for listening, and talk to you guys soon.